In the mysterious and supernatural world of the Bible, stories of giant creatures have always been an indispensable part of the human imagination. In particular, among the pages of ancient books, the image of the Nephilim, a mysterious giant race, appears as a remnant of the intervention between the divine world and the human world. They are giant creatures, possessing superior strength, but at the same time they are the consequence of a violation of divine laws, the result of the forbidden union of a fallen angel and a human woman. They were giant creatures with superior strength, but at the same time, a violation of divine laws, the result of the forbidden union of a fallen angel and a human woman. Over the centuries, the Nephilim have not only aroused curiosity about their existence, but also opened up many discussions about the spiritual, religious, and moral meanings hidden behind this legend. Did the Nephilim really exist? And why did their story lead to the birth of the Great Flood, a global destructive event to purify humanity? Behind these giant creatures is not only a story of physical strength, but also a message of moral decay and punishment from God. In our journey to explore the story of the Nephilim, we will delve into their origins, the connection between the angels and the human world, and the legacy they left behind after extinction. The mysteries of the Nephilim not only reflect ancient religious values, but also teach profound lessons about moral compliance and the natural order that God established for mankind. Throughout human history, the story of giants has always stimulated the human imagination. Giant creatures not only appear in the myths of many cultures, but also exist in the form of religious legends, the most prominent of which is the story of the Nephilim, a mysterious giant race mentioned in the Bible. The Nephilim were not only giants with extraordinary strength, but they also had supernatural connections to fallen angels. Through theological, archaeological, and folklore studies, the story of the Nephilim has become a controversial mystical symbol. The Nephilim first appeared in the Bible, specifically in Genesis 1:4, one of the most controversial passages in the Old Testament. According to it, the sons of God, a term often used to refer to fallen angels, married human women. The result of this union was a hybrid race, giant creatures called the Nephilim. They were described as heroes of old, men of renown. However, the Nephilim were not simply giants. They were the result of a forbidden act, a violation of divine principles when fallen angels left heaven and intervened in the human world. This action led to the moral decline of mankind and indirectly caused the Great Flood, an event that, according to the Bible, God decided to use to wipe out humanity and these supernatural beings in order to restore order. In addition to Genesis, the Nephilim were also mentioned in the book of Jude and some pagan documents where fallen angels are condemned for abandoning their place and interfering in the human world. The birth of the Nephilim is a clear demonstration of the disastrous consequences when angels disobey the command of heaven, leading to a chain of dark and destructive events. The fallen angels, also known as Watchers, play an important role in the story of the Nephilim. They were originally assigned by God to protect and watch over mankind. However, during their mission, they became fascinated by the beauty of human women and decided to abandon their position as angels to marry them. The union of angels with humans broke the sacred boundary between the two worlds. According to Jewish legends, Symbolism, the leader of the Watchers, was the first to make the decision to betray God, leading to the downfall of human society. So these fallen angels not only gave birth to the Nephilim but also taught humans knowledge such as magic, weapons, and war, causing humans to become ambitious and brutal. This action plunged humanity into a dark age where the Nephilim's superior strength was abused to dominate and oppress the weaker ones. This led God to create the Great Flood to purge humanity and destroy the Nephilim race. An important question that arises when mentioning the Nephilim is the role of women in this story. If the Nephilim were the result of the union of fallen angels and human women, did giant women exist? According to the Bible and pagan texts, human women played a major role in giving birth to the Nephilim. However, there are no clear details about the existence of giant women in the stories of the Nephilim. Some religious scholars argue that the lack of mention of giant women does not mean that they did not exist. According to this hypothesis, giantesses may have existed but were not explicitly mentioned in the text due to some cultural or social reasons. In addition, in many other cultures, giantesses played a more important role. For example, in Norse mythology, there were giantesses such as Angerboda, the mother of mythical creatures such as Fenrir and Jormungandr. In Greek mythology, Gaia, the goddess of the earth, was the ancestor of many giantesses and played a powerful role in mythological events. This suggests that giantesses may have existed in many other mythologies, but were not specifically mentioned in the Nephilim story. Another controversial aspect of the Nephilim is their fertility. If the Nephilim were the result of hybridization between angels and humans, could they have had children? And if so, why did they become extinct? Though religious texts do not provide much information about the fertility of the Nephilim, some scholars have suggested that due to their supernatural origins, the Nephilim may have had difficulty reproducing. This ability may have limited the Nephilim's ability to reproduce, leading to their decline and extinction after a few generations. The Nephilim were the result of a union between fallen angels and human women, described in Genesis 6:14. This union produced a race of giants, but one that was neither fully angelic nor human. So the supernatural nature of the Nephilim raises the important question, were they capable of reproducing? And one of the main reasons given by theological scholars for the extinction of the Nephilim is their limited fertility. The Nephilim were a hybrid species, and angels, according to religious tradition, are not reproductive beings like humans. They belong to another world, and their abilities are limited to combining with human women to give birth to Nephilim, not to continue their lineage. The Nephilim's ability to reproduce may have been influenced by supernatural factors from their angelic parents. This made it difficult for them to continue their lineage. And when they could not reproduce, extinction gradually became inevitable. If the Nephilim could not produce offspring, their presence in the world would also decline over time. In addition to the reproductive factor, the Nephilim's moral decay played an important role in their decline. The Nephilim were not only giant creatures with overwhelming strength, but were also depicted as brutal rulers who used their strength to impose their authority and spread terror to humanity. The Nephilim's moral decay not only deteriorated the human social environment, but also fractured their relationship with God. The Nephilim represented the abuse of power and violence, leading to a violent and sinful human society. And it was this corruption that led God to punish both the Nephilim and humanity with the Great Flood. The relationship between the Nephilim and humanity was not peaceful. The Nephilim, with their great power and authority, became tyrannical rulers, causing conflict with humanity. There were wars and tensions between the Nephilim and humanity through society and the chaos, as humanity suffered under the domination of these giant creatures. This tension may have contributed to the decline of the Nephilim. Wars between humans and the Nephilim, or even between groups of Nephilim, may have led to a decline in their population, making them vulnerable and eventually leading to their downfall. However, the decisive factor in the decline and extinction of the Nephilim was God's intervention through the Great Flood. According to the Bible, God decided to use the flood to wipe out the sins of the world, including both humans and Nephilim. The presence of the Nephilim, as creatures representing divine transgression, became a major part of the reason for this global destruction. The Great Flood was not only a physical event of destruction, but also a symbolic one of purification and restoration of divine order. In the flood, the Nephilim were completely destroyed, leaving no trace of them in the world afterwards. Only Noah and his family, who were faithful to God, were saved to rebuild human society. The extinction of the Nephilim in the flood was a combination of limited fertility and divine punishment. They were powerful creatures but could not overcome the natural and moral limits set by God. Their downfall was the result of abusive power, violence, and violation of sacred rules. The Great Flood also played a major role in the destruction of the Nephilim. This was the event that God used to purge humanity and end the existence of the Nephilim. The extinction of the Nephilim after the Great Flood not only marked the end of a giant race, but also a testament to God's absolute power and authority in restoring order to the world. In doing so, the Nephilim not only disappeared physically but were also erased from human history, except for stories passed down through religious texts and legends. After the Great Flood, the Nephilim no longer appear in biblical texts, leading to the hypothesis that they were completely extinct. However, their story continues to exist and is interpreted in many different ways in different cultures, religions, and philosophies. Some scholars believe that the Nephilim symbolized chaos and disorder, a result of the violation of the boundary between angels and humans. This caused the collapse of society and the necessary intervention from God to restore the human world. The Nephilim became symbols of sin and human depravity, and their cleansing through the flood was a powerful message about the need for morality and order. Although they no longer exist in physical form, the Nephilim have left a profound legacy in the human psyche, and they have inspired many stories, legends, and literary works from ancient to modern times. Giant figures in many cultures, from the Titans of Greek mythology to the Jotun of Norse mythology, all carry some of the legacy of the Nephilim. Although giantesses are not explicitly mentioned in Nephilim lore, many other cultures' giantesses have played an important role. This opens up the possibility that giantesses may have existed in Nephilim lore, even if they are not specifically recorded in the Bible. In Norse mythology, giantesses were powerful and important figures. Angerboda, a Jotun, was not only the mother of fearsome beings such as Fenrir and Jormungandr, but also a being of great power and influence in important events in the mythological world. Similarly, in Greek mythology, the goddess Gaia was the mother of the Titans, giantesses who played an important role in the war with the gods of Olympus. Giantesses in these cultures were not only physically powerful, but were also important figures in spiritual and philosophical terms. The absence of mention of giantesses in the Nephilim legend may simply be due to the lack of specific references in the text, or to cultural and social limitations in recording the role of women in that period. However, the existence of similar figures in other cultures demonstrates that the concept of giantesses is not unfamiliar in human legends and myths. The story of the Nephilim is not just a legend about giant creatures, but also carries deep spiritual and moral implications. Their existence was the result of a violation of natural and divine laws, and their downfall is a testament to the consequences of original sin. One of the important lessons learned from this story is the concept of original sin and the fall of man. The Nephilim symbolize betrayal and moral decay, as mankind is drawn into a supernatural world beyond their control. The fallen angels imparted forbidden knowledge to humanity, causing human society to become greedy and brutal. This led to a total breakdown of morality and order, and ultimately to the purification of the Great Flood. However, this story is not only about destruction, but also about salvation. While humanity and the Nephilim were destroyed, Noah and his family were saved through their faithfulness and fear of God. This emphasizes that no matter how depraved the world may be, there is still a chance for humanity to be redeemed if they turn to God and follow the moral laws. The Great Flood was not only a physical event of destruction, but also a powerful symbol of societal purification. The occurrence of the flood marked a turning point in human history, where God decided to destroy evil and recreate the world. And this shows that no matter how sinful mankind is, if they repent and reform, there is still a chance for forgiveness and rebirth. Noah, who was chosen to continue the life of mankind, is a symbol of loyalty and fear of God. Through this story, we can see that purification is not only the destruction of evil, but also the restoration and re-establishment of a divine order, where mankind can learn from their mistakes and live according to new moral values. The role of the giant's wife in the Nephilim story, although not mentioned in detail in the Bible, was of significant importance in the creation and maintenance of the Nephilim race. Human women unwittingly became a bridge between two worlds, one of angels and one of humans, thereby creating powerful hybrid creatures and a serious violation of divine rules. These wives, in their role as mothers of the Nephilim, contributed to the breaking of the sacred boundary between gods and humans. They were central to the birth of the Nephilim, giant creatures who were both powerful and brought about the moral degradation of humanity. However, in the context of contemporary society, they were not portrayed as giants or as having special powers, but as humans caught up in the flow of sin, accepting relationships with fallen angels. The existence of the giants' wives was not merely biological, but also had profound moral and legal implications. They became symbols of forbidden actions and thus, the reason for God's total punishment. The Great Flood was the inevitable end for humanity, and the Nephilim, a necessary purification to restore order and morality. In the context of the Nephilim story, the women, the giants' wives, may not be portrayed as active characters, but their role is still pivotal to the overall story. They are a clear demonstration of the power of temptation and the consequences of breaking a sacred rule, leading to the downfall of an entire species and a major change in human history. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit the like button, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to our channel for more intriguing and thought-provoking videos. Make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means a lot to us. See you in the next video.